Back for another week with BYU team captain and offensive lineman Connor Pay right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast. We look back at Sam Houston and also look forward to a second straight home game as BYU welcomes Southern Utah to LaVell Edwards Stadium.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, a resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are back for another week with BYU team captain and offensive lineman Connor Pay. Connor, thanks for joining us once again. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So obviously, BYU fans have had their say on social media and a lot of reaction to the 14-0 win against Sam Houston to open the season last Saturday. You guys winning that game. And let me just start here. How much do you guys in the football program, I know that you guys try and tune it out, but how much does social media actually work its way in to you guys and getting into your heads in a way?
I don't think it gets into our heads too much, but obviously we see it. Like you can't avoid it completely, right? And so, and it's like a lot of my sports updates and things like that, what's going on around the country, like I go on Twitter to kind of see what's going on. That's most of the accounts that I follow are either friends or sports accounts and stuff, just so I can kind of see. And it's inevitable, for you to see people's thoughts on the game and stuff, which is fine. Everyone has the right to share their opinion on how they think things went. But it sounds harsh, but also at the same time, it's like, why would we care at all about what someone who decided to twiddle their thumbs for 30 seconds and post something on Twitter after we've been working since January to try to put a good product on the field? I mean, nobody cares more about our performance than us. And nobody hurts more than us when we don't perform how we should perform. And that's how I think a lot of us felt, after the game, especially on offense. We obviously didn't perform the way we should have performed. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But obviously it does work its way in a little bit, and it's the classic. Anytime anything goes wrong, the O-line sucks. It's the classic. That's everybody's go-to, right? They're just terrible. They can't get any movement off the ball, and they have no idea what our scheme is, no idea what our responsibilities are. And so it's almost comical in a way in some of those things. But, it's no secret we didn't perform very well, and the fans have a right to be frustrated. They're invested in the program too.
Now, I'm just going to insert here that in some ways the reaction to that win, and it was a win, everybody out there. Let's be very clear about that. It was a 14-0 shutout win for BYU, who are 1-0 on the season. In many ways, the reaction felt in many ways like BYU may have lost that game. And I think a lot of it was heaped at the offense because a lot of fans, I think, expected your offense to be rolling and doing their thing, having Keaton Slovis at the helm of the offense and all that stuff. So you talk about the fact that you guys felt like you didn't perform up to your expectations, obviously. Where do you guys, I guess I'm asking you, where do you think it broke down the most in your opinion?
I think, well, first of all, I probably should have started with this. Like you can't ever take winning for granted. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to win in college football, regardless. You saw teams that were quote unquote lesser teams, underdog teams, take down. There was quite a few games where the underdog took down, a bigger team. And so we can never take winning for granted. And that's what Kalani preached to us in the locker room, because a lot of us, especially on offense, we were kind of frustrated in the locker room, kind of had some long faces. And he was like, look, we know we have stuff to fix. We're going to fix it. But, you need to enjoy the wins, because it's hard to win in college football. But anyways, I think, in reviewing the game over and over and kind of seeing, how the drives went, the biggest issue was just self-inflicted wounds. Which has been very uncharacteristic of us, in years past, at least since I've been here. We don't get a lot of penalties on offense, especially not on the offensive line, which, we did. We had 4 of them, I think, up front, and they're drive killers. And so when I rewatch those drives, it's like, hey, we get a few good plays going. We're starting to get a rhythm. Then we had a penalty that put us behind the sticks, killed the drive over. And so I think we just, you can't do that. You can't. And I think we talked about this a little bit before we started, but the silver lining to that is all of it's fixable. It sucks that, it happened. And that it was just us shooting ourselves in the foot. But the nice thing is like that, you can fix those things. Like if you're just getting manhandled or something, for us up front, at least, like if you're just getting manhandled by the D line and we can't get our combo blocks going and we can't block at the second level, then that's different, and Sam Houston has a good defense. They were in FCS, they were top 20, top 15 in every statistical category on defense. And I guess for just maybe a little more insight to what I mean by that is their front 7 is designed, their D-line, they twist and stunt like almost 80% of the time. And so, that they try to junk everything up at the line of scrimmage so it frees up their linebackers to come and make plays. They had 2 really good linebackers who make a lot of tackles, and that's what their whole scheme is based around. And we knew that going into the game. And, sometimes on some of those zone plays, like we have to do a better job of passing off some of those combinations. And they got us a few. They got me a few times on those where, I'm trying to be physical. I'm trying to sink into a combo block so we can get some movement, open up some holes. And then next thing you know, the guy I'm blocking is looping and I'm getting picked off by someone on the other side of the formation that I wasn't even looking at. And so, Sam Houston did some good things to make it challenging for us. And so, but at the end of the day, regardless of all of that, and especially on the touchdown drives, when we were moving the football, we didn't have any self-inflicted wounds on those drives. And I think that was the biggest thing.
Now, I wanted to ask you, and this is just for I guess my personal question, is you talk about the zone blocking scheme, and it's a zone scheme. NFL teams run this. Trust me, I'm a 49er fan, and they use this heavily in their offense. And
they're one of the best at it.
They are, but the thing is, it takes time to get on the same page as an offensive line with that, because it requires an amount of precision, but at the same time, patience for an offensive line to develop that. Am I right in that assessment that it takes some time to get on the same page?
Yeah, it does, and I think. Is there an element of, this O-line, this is the first time we've ever played together. All of us are kind of at different positions a little bit. Is there an element to that? Yeah. But also at the same time, we have enough reps from training camp running those exact schemes against stuff like that we should have performed better. But no, there's definitely just some truth to that cohesion plays a big role in those zone schemes too, and there's a premium on communication, because a lot of times if you can communicate things, maybe not necessarily the twists, those are kind of hard to deal with, but there are some keys that we could key off of to anticipate some of that stuff. But no, I think there's definitely some truth to what you're saying. I don't think it was the primary reason for the challenges, but I think that definitely plays a role, even if it's a small one.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the Sam Houston kind of lessons learned. And obviously, we'll turn our attention to Southern Utah here in just a moment. But before we do that, I need to get a word in on our friends over at eBay Motors. They've been working on this for a few months now, right here on Locked On Cougars, as well as the Locked On Podcast Network. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices all right now at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride, my friends. That's eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and some exclusions may apply. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars a part of your routine. Everybody, thank you for being everydayers with us here on the podcast. All right, continuing on now with Connor Pay, BYU team captain, obviously gracious enough to spend time with us each week here on the podcast. And Connor, you just talked about the fact that you feel like it's stuff that you can be fixed going into this game against Southern Utah in terms of the offensive performance. Now, it felt like at times in the game against Sam Houston that you talked about the self-inflicted wounds, but you still were able, when you got into the red zone, it felt like you guys were still able to punch in and get those touchdowns. Most notably, the two rushing touchdowns, first two rushing touchdowns of Keaton Slovis's career.
Didn't anticipate it going that way, but
I don't think anybody did. Let's be honest. I wanted to ask you about LJ Martin. Now, he came in the second half of this game, and he had a fantastic performance by all accounts. 16 carries, 91 yards, one of the best debuts for a BYU freshman of all time, if you look at the metrics. Explain to our listeners and our viewers, I guess, depending on which way they're consuming this, how impressed you were by his performance.
Honestly, it's what I expected of him.
Okay.
Obviously it was really impressive performance, but none of us were surprised. We watched him through training camp. We watched him perform well in the scrimmages. And, he came in at a point in the game where we were finally starting to kind of get a rhythm a little bit up front and kind of figure out what they were doing. So I think Aiden kind of got the short end of the stick of that at the start of the game where we were trying to kind of figure things out. That first drive, we were kind of just going downhill. We were capping things off and getting chunk yards on every play. And then kind of those later drives, we kind of went away from the run game a little bit because we were behind the sticks so much because of those penalties. And so when LJ came in, he knew exactly what his job was and he did it, which I think is kind of the moral of the story for us as an offense in this game is like, if everyone had just gone in and done their job, we definitely could have scored more points, right? There were a lot of points left on the board, but LJ is going to be a great player for a long time at BYU. I mean, he's got some, he's got a little bit of Tyler Algier vibes to him, just a little bit in the way he runs and, the way he sees the field. So I'm really proud of him and I'm really excited for his future.
Well, and you're not alone in invoking the name of Tyler Algier. Kalani Sitake, your head coach, did it in the post-game press conference. He said his vision in particular, he says there is a skill there as a vision as a running back to be able to kind of see all five of those linemen and sometimes the tight ends, etc., all you guys flowing to one side in that zone concept and to be able to kind of assess the situation, find a hole and knife right through it. And that's something that you mentioned LJ was able to figure out in the later stages of that game. Now, you mentioned the fact you felt like Aiden and I guess Dion by extension may have gotten a little bit of the short end of the stick in that regard. What is your confidence level that both of them will bounce back along with you guys up front on the offensive line?
Oh, huge, because the majority of it was our fault. On those runs, it was our fault up front. We didn't handle the twists or the pressures as well as we should have, and we didn't. We muddied up their reads, and that makes it hard. Because we got. If you look at just the first drive, those first few carries for Aiden, that's how it should have been the entire game. Boom, hit him 4 yards, 7 yards, just chunk yards on all these plays, and then we ended up getting away from it. But I have all the confidence in the world in those guys just because I've watched what they can do live in our scrimmages and in training camp. And when Aiden was at Louisville and UNLV, right, with Dion being at Colorado. So, we know what those guys can do. And we have to do a better job up front of putting them in a position to be successful.
Now, obviously, you, along with the rest of the offensive linemen, are responsible to make sure that Keaton Slovis has got a clean pocket to work from. And it looked like multiple times from my naked eye, and trust me, I'm an amateur analyst at best, but you guys gave him the time. And there were some opportunities, I think he would say, and he said, I judge myself pretty harshly with this performance. When it comes to the passing game, I don't think people understand how important it is for you guys up front to literally give him that opportunity to step up into that pocket and make throws with confidence. Can you, I guess, explain how important that is for a quarterback to have the trust that, hey, these five guys in front of me are going to make sure that my jersey stays clean?
Well, I think it's huge because everybody has to work together on those things, right? He can't get from read 1 to 2 to 3 if he's worried about somebody being in his face on every single play. He may rush the throw and go on read number 1 when 2 or 3 might have been really open. And so I think, it's huge. And I know Keaton has confidence in us. I think that's one of the things we did do well in the game was we kept him clean, for the most part. I think there was only one, maybe two QB hits, no sacks. So I think that's one thing that we can build off of. I thought we protected him pretty well. And there were some wrong routes run and some things on some stuff, and that made it kind of challenging for Keaton. And nobody is more accountable than him, and nobody's more frustrated with how the game went than him, and so he's gonna do everything he can to get it right. But I think we have to do a better job of putting him in a position to be successful, because I think there were some wrong routes run. We had a hard time blocking on the perimeter a little bit, which is something that's been a massive strength for us the last 2 or 3 years, is our receivers have been really physical. And so when we do a lot of the jet sweep game or even the short bubble screens, that's been a huge part of our offense because we've been able to dominate those DBs with our receivers, and we just didn't do that like we normally did. But again, like, I've seen it happen. I watched it in training camp. And so we know it's there. We just got to get it out of the guys and get them to perform better. And I think, you can chop some of it up to first game jitters a little bit, or maybe even, with so many of our teammates being transfers, it's the first time we've played in a real live game setting together. There's going to be some, a little bit of a learning curve, right, of how we mix and how we play together. But, and of course, we were down a couple guys at receiver. But I think it all works together, right? When the receivers know that the O-line is going to give Keaton the time that he needs, they're going to be more crisp on their routes. They're going to be more dialed in because they know it's more likely that they're going to get the ball. If they think Keaton is going to have someone in his face or is getting smoked on every single play, that it's hard to, go as hard as you can or do what you need to do to get off this corner, this safety on a route. And so it all works together. And it all starts, with us up front, because if they know he's going to be clean, then he can make his reads, and that makes everybody better.
Now, I got a listener question for you, and it relates to a comment you made earlier about all of you along the offensive line. You're all playing new positions. Kingsley moved from right tackle to left tackle. You have Waylon Lopwaho playing left guard. You've got Paul settling in at center, your old position. You moved to right guard, and then Caleb and Braden Kine both played right tackle. And RJ asked this question: can you ask Connor how he feels about playing guard and settling in his new position? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I feel good. I feel good about it, and right guard's a position that I've played before. I think my freshman year, my first 5 or 6 starts ever at BYU were at right guard. And so, it's kind of, it's nice that I've done it before, and, that I'm experienced in the offense and the system. So, I don't have to worry about that part of it as much. And, obviously the techniques are a little bit different than center, and things are a little bit different, in terms of timing. But like I said, it's kind of bringing it back to, memory a little bit of how to do certain things. And, but no, I'm happy with it because Paul's a really good center. And, I think, this is the lineup that the coaches felt like put us in the best position to win. So I'm all for it. I've enjoyed it so far.
How much fun is it to be a guy on those screen passes and some of the plays where you guys get to move around as an offensive line? How fun is that to get out into space and to go run dudes down?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because, when you get out there, especially on some of those like jailbreak screens and those quick bubbles, those DBs, they're looking at the ball carrier. They're not necessarily looking at you. And so I had the opportunity to really tattoo somebody, and I hesitated for just a second. I missed it. And so I'm pissed about that. And Coach Funk gave me a bunch of crap for it today. Because you see it was on a little screen to Dion, It was actually the block, or was it the block in the back? Well, it was the when Waylon got the block in the back.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
and I was kind of hesitating because I was choosing between two guys, and I finally made my decision. He just ducked me just a little bit, and I barely got my hand on his shoulder. But if I had just sold out and gone right for him, I could have done some damage. I should have done it. But there's something I need to improve on. But
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but did they ever, like, when you have those happen, do you ever, I've described it as like the deer in headlights. Like, do you ever see those, like, DBs like, oh no, what just happened here?
Oh, for sure. Because they'll recognize it at the last second, what's happening. Because to them, it could just be a bubble screen. Like, it looks very similar. Mm-hmm. And so they're kind of like, okay, where's this receiver? He's going to get to try to come to block. And they're not expecting 320 at a full sprint, from in the box. They're not really looking for that. So it's kind of like that realization where there's someone really big running at me right now. Like, I got to do something. And Waylon had another good shot on someone later in the game on a similar play where he went and just tattooed the guy. And it was awesome.
All right, we'll continue to break this down. You're going to get some thoughts on Southern Utah, and I do have a couple other questions that came in from our interview last time that people want to know about you personally, Connor. We'll get to all this. Continue on right here on Locked On Cougars. Another quick word on our friends over at UCCU for a second. They have a new thing called Learn and Earn. The UCCU mobile banking app is paying your entire family to learn about money. Kids look to parents to become financially literate, and parents don't always know those answers. And that's where UCCU comes in with their Learn and Earn. It breaks down financial topics into fun, bite-sized educational games like quizzes and trivia. Every time a family member completes a topic, they earn points that accrue and can be redeemed for gift cards to stores like Amazon, Apple, Sephora, Walmart, Nike, and many, many more. There's age-appropriate content for every member of the family, and y'all can compete against one another and track your progress on leaderboards as well. Learn and Earn is available inside the UCCU mobile banking app, so play it anytime, anywhere. I can attest to this because I do bank with UCCU, and I've literally played it everywhere at this point. The best part is the more you play, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you earn. Simple as that. It's Learn and Earn, part of UCCU's award-winning Be Money Smart youth banking program, helping kids, teens, and parents have fun while becoming more financially literate together. It's all courtesy of your friends at UCCU. Love where you bank. Continuing on here with Connor Pay, BYU team captain, in his weekly appearance here on Locked On Cougars. And Connor, you talk about the fact that you guys are expecting to improve. And obviously you have a second straight home game. And I believe I'm correct in saying this. It's for the first time since 2012, you guys will have back-to-back home games to start the season, welcoming in Southern Utah to LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday night. I guess I'll also add this. It's your lone in-state game of the season as well. How much are you looking forward to this matchup with the Thunderbirds?
Good. It's going to be fun. I have friends that play at SUU, so it'll be good to see some of them. And I've never played against SUU before, and so I'm looking forward to it a lot. I didn't know that it was our first ever back-to-back home games in a long time, so that's kind of cool. I mean, I like it. I like playing at home. So.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a similar question there. How fun was it to be out under the lights at LaVell Edwards Stadium in the crowd Saturday night?
Oh, it was awesome. Other than getting booed as we're running off the field, after we go 3 and out after a few times.
Yeah.
That's not always fun, but hey, don't worry, guys, we're pissed too. So, it was. I mean, I'm just teasing. We have a passionate fan base, and they're passionate in both directions, right? When we win, we're the greatest thing on earth. When we lose, we all suck and the sky is falling. That's just how it goes. And so, but they make it fun. And so obviously, that's why we love being at home, because the fans was there. The Rock was awesome. And, I know people don't like staying up late, but I love those night games because under the lights is just a different feel. It's fun.
Here's the thing. I saw a couple of people on social media pointing out about the Rock and like the swaying back and forth. And that's the thing about the student sections. They're pretty unique in that way. And the Rock obviously represented very, very well Saturday night. And
yes, they did.
Those late night games, they may not be necessarily conducive to everybody's sleep schedule. I can attest to that because I was up till I think about 4 a.m. Sunday morning. But
Me too. And I had to teach my mission prep class at 9, and I did it. I did it with very little sleep. It's safe to say I didn't do much Sunday afternoon other than lay in my bed and sleep.
I can commend you on that for that, obviously, and get back at that. That's awesome that you teach mission prep, obviously, preparing the next wave of elders and sisters going out into the mission field. But I wanted to get your quick assessment, I guess a little bit of a scouting report on Southern Utah. What do you see from SUU on film?
I mean, they're a good team. They're definitely not someone you can overlook. I mean, clearly, they almost beat Arizona State last week. And they're a lot different than Sam Houston. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more over G fronts. A little more vanilla, but they play. One thing I did notice as I was reviewing some of their games today is they play hard. They do play hard, and they try to get after the quarterback. They rush again, they re-rush, and it's, so we're gonna have to be prepared, to play harder than them and out effort them, because they're a good defense and they're gonna play hard. They've got a couple good defensive linemen, and they have 2 linebackers that are really good players, and so and that showed in their game against Arizona State. And so it'll be a good game for us, and I think with their defensive scheme, I think it'll be, a good game for us to kind of get back on track, at least as an offensive line, with, the run game a little bit, because it's not quite as exotic as Sam Houston in terms of the twists they run and the pressures they do that kind of make it challenging. SUU plays a little more, not conservative, but a little bit more standard gap sound defense. And so, in one way, they're a good gap sound defense. So you got to handle that. But also, I think it'll give us good opportunity to get into our combo blocks and, test our rules a little bit in the run and the pass game. So.
All right, as we finish up here with Connor, I got 2 listener questions that are kind of more like getting to know you type stuff. So the first one came in via our YouTube channel last week. And that's from Keltad. I think I've pronounced that correctly. He says, I need to know what Connor's top 5 bands are right now. So go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Top 5 bands right now. Okay. Well, my favorite band of all time is Dream Theater.
Okay.
There's probably not very many people know that. Shout out to the people who do. You're the real ones. My number 2 band. Oh, geez. I'm gonna go with Slipknot as number 2 right now. 3 is Rush.
All right.
Number 4 is Disturbed, probably because I just saw them in concert like a month and a half ago, and they were awesome. So I've been listening to them a bunch recently. And then number 5, who am I listening to a lot right now? I'm listening to a lot of Foo Fighters as well right now. So those are probably my top 5. I'd go Dream Theater, Slipknot, Rush, Disturbed, and the Foo Fighters. That's top 5 right now.
So we got some metal, we got some alternative, and even got some, as you call it, oldies, classic rock. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice mix. All right. And then the other question comes in via David, and he asks this. Can you ask Connor what his favorite meal is? Like, I guess, what will you opt for if you were able to pick your meal?
Like those dudes who are about to get the electric chair.
Sure. I guess
get their last meal ever.
Meal, yeah.
Before I die or something. Oh man. I like food. This is hard.
Come on, if you didn't like food and you were no lineman, I'd be worried.
Yes, I know. I get paid to be obese. Isn't that an awesome job?
It is pretty good gig.
Just kidding, Dan, our nutritionist. Not paid to do that. Sorry. But my favorite meal right now. My favorite meal right now is probably there's this tri-tip that my mom smokes on our Traeger at home that we have a lot on Sunday dinners.
Okay.
That's up there. That's some really good stuff. That with mashed potatoes, corn, rolls, all that good stuff. So I'd have to say my mom's tri-tip right now is probably my favorite meal at the moment.
Hey, tri-tip's always a good choice. So trust me, I smoke plenty of tri-tip myself on my Traeger at my house, and it is just it's a crowd pleaser. It's a really, really versatile cut of meat, it feels like.
It is. And you can season it a lot of different ways. And my mom is kind of going through a Traeger phase a little bit right now. I don't know if my dad's happy about it, because we're spending a lot of money on different kinds of meats, but it's good. It makes it for when I come home on Sundays. She smoked a brisket for like 16 hours.
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday. So we're eating good at the Pay household right now. But I have to agree with you. It is versatile, and it's a good cut of meat.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, I may have to compare notes with your mom at some point. We can trade.
Yes, you should.
Secrets of the trade, as they say, and have a conversation about that. But Connor, cannot thank you enough for being so gracious to join us once again. Looking forward to next week. Obviously, wish you best of luck against Southern Utah this week, and we'll talk about that one as it comes. All right.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. That's Connor Pay. A big thank you to him for joining the podcast. As always, of course, this show brought to you by our friends, as we mentioned, our UCCU, as well as our friends over at eBay Motors today. And a big thank you to all of you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen today. And thank you to all of you for being everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Until tomorrow, everybody, have a great rest of your day. This has been the Locked On Cougars Podcast. See ya.